Welcome to Cobra Kai Canada. I am your host, Alir, and today my guest is Brandon H. Lee, who plays Quan on Cobra Kai. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
What's up, Alir? Thanks so much for having me. That intro was so sick. That was awesome.
Thanks, man. What's sick is your brilliant performance on Cobra Kai Season
Oh, thank
6.
you. Thank you.
And most importantly, I want to welcome you to the Cobra Kai family.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you. I'm a huge fan of the show, so to be a part of it is like surreal.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can't wait to get to know you a little, and obviously about your Quan character. I know that's what the viewers really want to know. So
Uh-huh.
hopefully we'll get into like all these topics. And now before we start, I have a little confession.
Okay.
I know we only met just a few minutes ago,
Uh-huh.
but Sean Kanan, who plays Mike Barnes, he's a dear friend of mine, and we've known each other for like years.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
Oh.
yeah, and he's actually one of my favorite characters of the entire franchise, from the
Me
Karate Kid
too.
films
Me
and
too.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And my confession is, you, Brandon, your character Quan is now up there as one of my favorites, next to Mike Barnes.
No way. Oh my gosh. I'm so honored. Thank you.
Yes, two bad boys.
To even have my name next to that is just ridiculous to me. But oh my god, thank you. I haven't
Yeah.
been able to meet him yet in person. I want to so badly.
Oh, he's a
I didn't get to
great
meet him
guy.
at the premiere. So
Honestly, super chill and down to earth. I love Sean Kanan. He's the man.
he looks so awesome, man. He's so good.
Yeah. Funny enough is that I got like a little man cave kind of thing that I'm working on, right? So one section of the man cave, I have this thing, I call it the Wall of Fame, right? So what it is like I have like pictures of like autographed and memorabilia, and like a couple of my favorite actors and stuff, because I'm a big movie buff, right? So I have like this Mike Barnes one. I'll make you a deal. If you win the Sekai Taikai, you're going up. You're going up there, man.
Oh man, okay. I'll try my best. I'll keep training harder. Even though we already filmed it.
Oh,
I'll keep
yeah.
training harder for it.
That's great, man. I'll even put like spotlights on it and everything, man. So that's the deal, man.
Oh,
But
sounds good.
but yeah, Brandon, so there's a huge buzz amongst the Cobra Kai fandom about you and your character Quan. It left such a huge impact on part one. So before we set up this interview, I messaged John Hurwitz, and I was like, "Hey, John," I was like, "Brandon's coming on my podcast. Can you like tell me a little about him?" He's like, "Absolutely." And this is what he exactly told me right here on the text.
Okay.
Talented, hardworking, and extremely nice guy. That's what he told me. Yeah, and I was like, I could see the nice guy. But like, my question to you, Brandon, is how much of Brandon is in the Quan character?
Well, shout out John Hurwitz for your kind words and everything. John is the absolute best, man. I love him.
He is.
I think as actors, no matter what character we play, we have to resonate with the character to a certain degree, no matter what. As much as people like on the outside, I think it's very like obvious that me as Brandon is very different from Quan, but like I think there is a lot of that same thing that I resonate with him. I think the main thing is like, this is like my first recurring acting role, like my first real professional acting role. And I've always, ever since I've pursued this industry, I've had a chip on my shoulder to prove myself. And I think that's all that Quan wants to do is prove himself. So in that regard, the ways that we go about it are probably very different, but like that feeling at least is very, very real to me. And so I think that's what makes acting and filmmaking so fulfilling, I think, is that we get to express those parts of us that like we might not be able to express in our own lives. Like if I go around acting like Quan in real life, like I would probably make a lot of enemies, so like it's fun that I kind of have this excuse to be able to let out this like just that anger inside, but for sure it was like it was a ton of fun playing him. The writers and the big three, the creators, write the characters so well, and Kwon's no different. They wrote him so well, and it was just like I just all I had to do was just really bring the what was on the page to life and try to put my own spin on it, and they gave me so much freedom to do so. So yeah, it was a blast. It was a lot of fun, and I do, as much as people might not believe it, I do resonate with Quan a lot.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I do like those kind of like, if you want to call it that, like arrogant, cocky type of characters. Like I root for the bad guys. Well, I don't consider you a bad guy, to be honest with you. Like that's
Really?
the thing. I really don't. You know what I mean? I just see a guy that, you know, loves martial arts, wants to win, wants to be the best. There's nothing wrong with that. Like if you want to thrive, you know what I mean? So if people see it the other way, that's their opinion, right? But I see it differently.
That's awesome. I'm glad you don't think Quan's
Yeah.
Quan's like that then.
Yeah, for sure. So now, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but your audition was kind of a roller coaster ride, because didn't you originally audition for season 1? Nothing really happened there. Then all of a sudden you kind of auditioned for season 6, but the WGA strike happened. Kind of elaborate on all that stuff. Like, wow, I want to hear about this.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was season 1 in particular. I just know it was one of the very early seasons, and I don't know what role. So I mean, people are gonna keep trying to find out what role it was. It wasn't Kyler, you know. It wasn't that. If people are gonna go for that, it wasn't that. I don't even know. But it was one of my very first auditions when I moved to LA and when I first got into acting. So it was like terrible. It was a terrible audition. Like I hope nobody sees it. I hope the casting directors don't even remember me coming in for that. But you know, they were so gracious and gave me a second chance. 5 years later, almost 6 years later, 5 years later. But yeah, so I did audition in April of 2023. I sent them a self-tape. About a week later, I did a callback audition with the big three, the creators of the show, John, Josh, and Hayden. And I remember I was just fanboying so hard and like also super nervous because I saw all 3 of them on this couch just staring at me, and I was like, oh my gosh. And yeah, like the callback, it felt like it went really well. They gave me some direction that, you know, I think I've talked about this before, and John probably, I think he mentioned it in a previous interview, but they were a little bit worried because they saw my slate first, and I was just fanboying like super hard in my slate. And then they're like, wait, this kid looks too nice to play the most baddest character. But then they kind of gave me that direction to make sure, like, hey man, like we really like you, like can you turn up that, you know, that villain knob a little bit more? And I was like, okay, say less. And so I swung hard, and they liked it. And I think about a day or two after that, they told me that they were interested. They did they gave me an unofficial pin. Usually when you're pinned is like, usually it might be narrowed down to a couple people. They're kind of reserving your schedule, but it was unofficial because the strike was potentially going to happen, which it did happen. So they weren't able to like lock into dates. So for about 8 months, I was just like checking my phone nonstop. Is the strike going to end? Is the strike going to end? And then the strike ended in somewhere in October, I think.
Right.
And I was actually in Korea doing like a different, I was doing a different like live action video game for League of Legends performance that I was super grateful to be a part of. But I was worried because I was like, oh no, like now the strike's over, they're gonna like bring me over, and they just weren't saying anything. And then I was like, surely before the holidays, right, they're gonna tell me if I book it, and they didn't. And I was like, oh, it's over. Like I think it's like this happens so many times now where I get so close to this role, and I really felt like this was gonna be the one. And then I remember I got sick with the stomach flu, and I was just miserable in bed for like a whole week, just dying. And then I get a call from my agent, and she's like, you booked it. And I was like so happy. But what was hilarious was like my amazing agent, Justine, she was like, every time we made it to a new phase in here, I would like try to like stay pretty stoic and not get my hopes up, because it's happened so many times. I didn't want to get my heart crushed again for the 100th time. she was like, "Are you really not excited, Brandon?" And then by the time I'm like, "I'm not gonna get excited until I book it." She calls me, and I'm like sick in bed. She's like, "Seriously, Brandon, are you not excited?" I'm like, "I'm so excited, but I'm like dying in bed right now." But yeah, and then a week later, I was out in Atlanta shooting episode 3, and it was a blast, and the rest is
Oh
history. Yeah.
man, that's so great. It's funny because it goes back to when I asked John about you, and you said, nice guy, and you mentioned that. And shout out to Justine for booking this
Mm-hmm.
interview, and she's really legit. I got to talk to her a little and get to know her
Mm-hmm.
too. And Brandon, aren't you kind of glad that you got booked in season 6? Like,
Yeah.
because if you got booked earlier, you wouldn't probably be Quan, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. That's where it's like, I mean, I
It's like
keep saying this,
fate.
but yeah, it's fate. Like it's from Ralph's book, his autobiography book. It's an amazing
Mhm.
book. If you guys haven't listened to it, you should listen to it. He says something like, every role that is meant for you will find you, and you will book every role that's meant for you. Everything happens for a reason. And it's kind of scary to see, like even though I know for a fact I wasn't ready at that time, even for the craziest odds, if I had booked it, it's like it wasn't meant to be. I can't even think of a single other character on the show that I would have been able to play, because the
That's
person
a
that plays that is amazing on how they do it. Like that's them. So
yeah,
every actor will find the right role, will find you, and like I kept hearing that all the time throughout all the years of struggle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, whatever. But it's like it's really real. So any actors out there that are constantly struggling, and like, I know how hard it is. It really is. And it's like, you just got to keep your head forward and keep grinding, and keep going, and keep your hopes alive, because it will find you eventually.
yeah, definitely. You can't give up, right? If you
Hmm.
give up and just like nothing's gonna happen. And well said. The one thing I love about you is that you are not only a fan of Cobra Kai, but you were a fan of the Karate Kid films prior to even auditioning. And
Hmm.
that's what I love about you. And like, what was it about like the Karate Kid films that you just like fell in love with?
I mean, it's just everything, like, I love the underdog story. And like,
Right.
I grew up doing martial arts my whole life. My father has a taekwondo school in Minnesota. So if it
Oh,
wasn't for the
cool.
yeah, yeah. So I grew up doing it all the time. So like, if it wasn't for the Karate Kid and all other like amazing films like that, martial arts wouldn't be nearly as big in America. And like, maybe I wouldn't have been able to, like, maybe we wouldn't have as much business. Like, maybe I wouldn't have been able to like stay in America. Maybe my parents would have had to, like, bring our family back to Korea or something. Like, who knows? So like, and just the stories that it's telling, like, it means so much. And like, that everyone loves to hear an underdog story. And
For sure.
since day one, the Daniel LaRusso story just always motivated me. Whenever I felt like, when I was training, that I was the underdog, that people were better than me, that's movies like that always inspired me to train harder and stick with it and never give up. So yeah, it's just forever inspiring. And not just for martial arts, that same mentality, really, I took that into acting. That's why, after all the years of getting rejections, that I tried to stick with it. And finally Cobra Kai came. And so yeah, it's like films like that. It's like, I think that's the reason why I love what I do, and that's why I want to be a filmmaker and be part of this business, is because I think storytelling is one of the most inspirational
Absolutely.
things. So yeah, shout out to all of the OG Karate Kid, and Ralph and Billy and Marty. It all started with them. And yeah, if it wasn't for them, I don't think any of us would be here today in this Cobra Kai universe. Yeah.
Well said. And just because you mentioned your father and he owns a Taekwondo school, he obviously had a huge influence on your life.
Hmm.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was your dad some sort of karate champion back in the homeland of Korea?
He was a Taekwondo champion. Our background is Taekwondo. Um, he was a 3-time Korean national champion in the 80s, which I think was the best time of Taekwondo. Like, that's when they
Yeah.
were the fastest and craziest kicks. I mean, today is amazing as well, but just the stylistically, I loved it back then. And so
Mhm.
yeah, he moved to the United States in the early 90s, in Minnesota, and I was born over there. And yeah, I kind of just grew up doing it my whole life. I don't even remember, like, when people ask me like how much has martial arts impacted you, like I can't really answer the question because I've never lived life without it, you know. So
Right.
it's just a part of who I am. And you know, I think Cobra Kai has helped me get more in tune with that part of me, because about 3 years ago, I made the commitment to say no to every stunt job and only do acting now. And
Mhm.
for a while, I was kind of like trying to get out of being that martial arts guy and just like not training martial arts as well. And Cobra Kai kind of like, you know, it came at the perfect time where I had been training my acting for a long time now, and or a
Mhm.
long enough time. And like and let me get back in tune with martial arts and rediscover that part of me. So I mean, it keeps going back to what we're saying. Everything really happens for a reason, you know.
For sure. You know, it's funny because like even though you took Taekwondo your whole life, I was just like actually thinking earlier about this. Now, if your Quan character was a middle child, so let's just say you had, you know, two other brothers, your older brother would be Tai, the middle kid would be you, which is Quan, and the third youngest would be Do. So Taekwondo.
That'd be sick. That would be sick. That'd
Yeah,
be really
yeah, I
cool.
was just kind of thinking of that because you know your character's name is Kwon, so I was like
Yeah,
Taekwondo, right? So
yeah,
if that
yeah,
made any sense, but yeah, and it's funny enough, I don't think I've ever met anybody from Minnesota, so
right. Yeah, people are
yeah,
always very surprised when I say that I'm from there.
yeah. So that's actually
Mhm.
pretty cool. Now in Minnesota, wouldn't like hockey kind of be like the thing over there? Don't
Yep,
they? Okay, because I
they're
noticed because
really good
like
at hockey.
yeah,
Yeah,
because like as a Canadian, we know a lot of like people that come up here and the Canadian leagues are from Minnesota. So that's
yeah,
why I kind of put two
yeah,
and two together.
yeah. We're right below you guys, and everyone gets our accents mixed up. And then there's a little bit of a Canada Minnesota war, Midwest war, I feel like, in a way.
Yeah, oh for sure, for sure. So that's pretty cool, man. That's awesome, man. And it's funny enough because you mentioned you know, the 80s and Korea and stuff like that. Now, I hope you don't get offended for me saying this, but you remind me a lot of Philip Ree from the Best of the Best movie. Like a
Whoa,
younger version of him. That's who you remind me of, and that's one of my actual favorite martial arts movies. I love Karate Kid. Don't get me wrong. Like I know my podcast is called Cobra Kai. Okay, I
yeah.
love it, but like Best of the Best for me is the most underrated movie ever.
You know what's crazy? That I'm honored, by the way, that you even said that. Like, I
For
just Philip
sure.
Ree is just an absolute legend. I've
Right?
still yet to meet him, but I am really good friends with his son, Sean Ree,
Sean
who
Ree.
looks exactly like him. Like I
Yep. They
rewatched
do look
Best.
alike.
It's actually scary. Like, I rewatched Best of the Best recently, and
Oh, that's so awesome you even know the movie.
like I can't even like I can't see. I only see Sean. Like they look so similar.
They do.
Um,
They
but yeah,
do.
no, the Ree brothers are legends. I was very fortunate enough. I got to work with Simon Ree um, on a Nike Korea shoot one time, and
He's
they're
everywhere.
they're awesome. They're absolute Taekwondo legends. They have paved the path for especially Korean Americans in Hollywood, and
Right.
they're just, yeah, for you to, I'm absolutely honored. Like, that's insane to me that like you
Yeah.
even put me in the same sentence as them.
Oh,
But they
absolutely.
are they are absolutely amazing and huge inspirations to me,
For
for
sure.
sure.
Philip Ree is like one of my favorite martial artists, and because of
Hmm.
him, that's why I love martial arts films. I like
Really.
I even love like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Funny enough
Mm,
is back in the day, back in the VHS days and before the internet and all that stuff, when I used to like I used to own every Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and we used to actually think he was Canadian because
really.
yeah, because he would always portray a French Canadian in the films. And I was like,
No.
okay, so this guy's Canadian. So I loved him even more. But when I found out he was from Belgium, I was like, oh, I was like so heartbroken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, but it's cool. At least he's still playing like a French Canadian. So I'll call him part Canadian.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody's happy kind of thing. And what I wanted to ask you was, what was your first day of shooting like? Because working with Martin Kove and Alicia Hannah Kim must have been such an awesome experience for you. And Ralph Macchio directing.
Oh my gosh, dude. That was insane. Holy cow. I just remember meeting Ralph for the first time and just being absolutely starstruck, and him telling me that this was his directorial debut. I was like, I already felt the pressure, but now I'm like, I really can't mess this up because I cannot ruin this man's legacy whatsoever. But seriously, like the moment we started shooting, they, even though they're the legends that they are, they don't act like that. They're so warm, they're so welcoming, they're so humble that it didn't even feel like I was working with the legends that they are. It just felt like another day on set. And because of that, I think it really gave me confidence, and it really gave me the freedom to really do what I do. And it was funny. It would just hit me in waves. Like I'd be in the flow, just in the zone, and then I would just I'd just catch myself staring at them like, oh my God, that's Ralph Macchio. Oh my God, that's Martin Kove. Oh my God, that's Alicia Hannah Kim. Like I would just, and I'd have to like stop staring at them because I'm like, oh, they probably think I'm so weird just staring at them. But yeah, it was absolutely insane. They're even cooler. Like they say to never meet your heroes, but they
No,
take
I disagree with that. Yeah.
no, they crane kick that phrase in the face. Like it's not even that, they are even cooler than I could have ever imagined, and absolutely amazing. And I'm so grateful that they're so welcoming, and even to this day, like I feel like I can call them good friends now. And
That's awesome.
yeah, they always feel like that I can just hit them up whenever I have a question or whatever. So to have mentors like that after my first big role is like, it's something that I could never even wish for, you know.
That's great, man. Now, it seems like your Kwon character has created his own techniques with the Cobra Kai style, Fang Sudo. For example, when you use the two-hand viper chop on Yundo Jin, if I pronounced it correctly, will we be seeing more off-the-chart moves from Kwon in the Sekai Taikai?
Oh, 1000%. 1000%. This is just the beginning, you know. I'll just tease that. I'm gonna not give any spoilers, but this is big shout outs to the stunt team. Ken Bearfield, Don Lee, and Tony Chung, and all of the amazing stunt team. My amazing stunt double, Dante Ha. They're so good at choreographing everything. Like the moment I saw the fight scene in episode 3 that they showed us when they were teaching us to fight, it immediately gave me so much more clarity on who this character was. Just like it's the nuances. He doesn't block a kick, he punches instead of blocking. He hits their leg, you know. He doesn't chop someone in the throat, he punches them in the throat. He doesn't just kick someone in the face, he front flip kicks them in the face to the floor. Like these little things like tell you so much about a character, just like a script will tell you about a character, you know. So that was just amazing. And what I love also is they told me from day one, they were like, we know your background, we know that you're a lifelong martial artist, we know that you've worked in stunts in the past. We want you to do every single thing you've always wanted to do on the show. And they really kept up to their word. They let me go. And now I'm just teasing the fans even more now, because like the only time they told me no was there was stuff I wanted to put in episode 3, and they were like, save that for later. So that's all I'll say is like we haven't even gotten started, you know, like so they really let me go nuts, and it was a dream come true. Like there's never been, I don't think I'll ever be on a show again where I get to be in a gi, we call it tobok in Taekwondo, and which is pretty much my pajamas, you know. I grew up with that. I'm so comfortable in those. And we get to be on flat surface, you know, like every time you're on an action movie or whatever, there's always some crazy conditions. You're usually, you know, you're having to fight on gravel. You have to fight with 10-pound boots or lifts, or like you have this giant suit that weighs like 50 pounds. Like it's always some type of thing like that. This is like, we're on the mat. You know, we're on the mat. We're on what I grew up training on. So like the biggest hurdle was like the outside fight because, you know, we were in like 30-degree weather, but like even that was a dream because we were on grass. Like usually you have to fight on gravel or something, and then when you hit the floor, it feels very painful. So it was just a dream to really work on the show. Really,
that's awesome, man. And now it's funny because we're not even a week yet in, and Cobra Kai season 6 part 1 has generated 14.8 million views. Like
that is,
and it's like you said, we haven't even started yet.
Yeah.
Like, can you elaborate on like what's going through your mind? And like this is broadcasted in over 90 countries that have Netflix.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows your face.
It's crazy. I mean, honestly, like everyone was telling me as we were filming, they're like, dude, you got to be ready. You got to be ready for this. It's gonna, like they kept saying, dude, our fans are absolutely crazy. They're the best fans in the world. And I'm like, yeah. And like even since the trailer dropped, and not even the show, it's just been so overwhelmingly positive how welcoming the fans have been. And no, when you say that number, like I can't even like you can't even put it into words, like how mind-blowing that is. Like like 14.7 like I can't even envision that. All I can see is a number. You can't even put that into a stadium. You can't even put that into 1,000 stadiums. Like it's just mind-boggling to me, and I'm absolutely honored to be a part of it. It's insane. But no, everyone was telling me, be ready for the circus, be ready for that. I'm like, I don't know how to prepare for this, dude. Like, help me. Like, but in the best way possible. It's been overwhelming.
And it's funny because like as we're speaking right now, doing this interview, there are millions of people watching the show as we
like
speak.
right now.
And it's just like you said, you know, we've just begun. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And this is just part 1. Now, can you imagine like when part 2 comes out in November, then part 3, which is to be determined. And like, oh, by the way, part 2, they moved the date back, right?
They moved it. Yeah, they announced it actually at the premiere. It was so sick. Josh Heald, one of the creators, announced it. It was so sick. I'm so glad they're doing that. Because I can't wait another week longer, man. I'm dying just as much as the fans are. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me see.
Oh, me too, man. Me too, man. I can't wait to see more of Kwon. I'll tell you that much, man.
Thank you. They hyped it up so well. They set it up so well, and so it's great. I'm so glad that they're splitting this up too, because now we can savor the final season a little bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? I am so glad they didn't drop everything at once.
Yeah.
Like now we have lots of stuff to work with. We have more to look forward to. And like this being the last and final season, like you got to go full out and it seems like they have. And like, I don't think anybody will be disappointed when it's all said and done.
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah. Now, as you mentioned early about the Cobra Kai fandom, the fan base is enormous. Like they're everywhere. Now they're known for throwing out crazy theories. I'm one of them. I do Mike Barnes theories all the time. I still think he has a 50% stake in the Cobra Kai dojo. I'm one of those types. Now, what is the craziest theory you have heard about the Kwon character so far, if you have?
Oh, so many people think that I'm Chozen's kid.
I never heard that one. Oh, okay.
I keep seeing that, like Chozen's kid or something. They think I'm related to him somehow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean it's not really possible because he's Japanese and I'm Korean. So,
right, exactly.
But, I mean, there's definitely I can see why also too, because like you know the energy is very similar. The energy is very similar for sure. Yeah, I remember Yuji. Shout out Yuji. Yuji is amazing. He's like become a big brother and mentor to me. He pulled up like a photo of him in Karate Kid 2 and put it next to me, and I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. Like it's not that we like necessarily look the same, but it's like the energy, you know, the aura, the energy that feels very similar in a way. I would love to see a time machine of those two go at it. You know?
Oh, that'd be great, man. But now you and Kim Da-Eun, now it seems like you two kind of have like, I don't want to say, but like kind of a rocky relationship. Like she
Mhm.
sees you as a troublemaker, easily disturbed, but with Kreese, he wants to turn you into a like a martial arts wrecking machine. Care to
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think Sensei Kim Da-Eun and that whole Tojang, like Kwon kind of like grew up under that, you know. So
Mhm.
but he's always felt like the best guy there, but he's never recognized for that. And what's annoying to Kwon, I think, is like he feels like his anger is the source of his power. It's the reason why he's the best in
Mhm.
his mind. And nobody sees that. And he's like, why am I doing this when I could do this? That's what literally what he shows in the beginning. He's like, why am I doing the Viper to attack when I can just do it all in the air like this? Like he always wants to show that he's just better. And he's so annoyed that that nobody sees it. But until Kreese comes along, Kreese is finally, I think at first he's definitely like sizing Kreese up. He's like, who the heck are you, old man? You know, like you don't have no business telling me what to do.
I
You probably
remember.
can't even lift your leg up. Like he's kind of got that energy. But you know, then he starts manipulating him and he starts pissing him. He get even more pissed because he manipulates Yoon into like pushing him down the stairs. And so he confronts him and I think he's expecting Kreese to he just thinks that Kreese is another one of these senseis that's just trying to push him down. But then he's like, wait, what? You actually think I'm good? Like, okay. And then that's when I think Kwon finally opens his mind to someone. You know, I don't think he opens his mind to really anyone. And
Mhm.
even Kreese, he probably doesn't open his mind up nearly as much to Kreese as much as like the Miyagi-Do students opened their minds up to their senseis, you know?
Sure.
But he's still finally, he's like, okay, maybe I can listen to this guy. And, you know, I think that's kind of how Kreese tames this beast, Kwon. And, Kwon resonates with Kreese because he finally meets someone that actually, you know, sees something in him that he sees. He actually looks at the world in a similar lens as him. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I
Mhm.
think they're a duo to be reckoned with for sure.
Man, I can't wait to see like the chemistry, like more chemistry with you and John Kreese as we go. Like, I just want to see where the storyline goes with that. I am just like head over heels crazy about like I love John Kreese, but like I said, now I just love your character, and I just oh man, I just can't wait to see where that persists. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is how cool is it not only to represent Cobra Kai, obviously, but Korea as well, because you're a native Korean.
hmm It's
So tell me.
it's so. I mean, there was a lot of pressure that came with that. I mean, I don't think I'm necessarily representing in a way but like in a way, I guess we are because we're kind of
Mhm,
like you know we're an addition to the show, and this is the most Korean we've ever spoken
mhm,
on the show, and you know, I'm Korean American. I was born in the States, so
mhm,
I didn't grow up being very fluent in Korean. So I've
mhm,
always I worked on it a lot to prepare
mhm,
for this role, and
mhm,
I felt a lot of pressure because I've seen a lot of movies and TV shows where they don't even cast a Korean to say a Korean line, and it's so obvious to Korean speakers, like, oh my god, you don't even study Korean, or maybe they're not even Korean, maybe they're Chinese, like or
mhm.
whatever, which is I think it's fine, but if the role has to speak Korean and they have to be for Korea, I think there's a certain level that comes with that, and like that was something I was very nervous going into, and I mean, I hope we've always, you know, Alicia and Daniel and I have always talked about how we hope that, you know, Cobra Kai, you know, gets more recognition in Korea that now that we have more Koreans.
Mm.
And I know that native speakers can tell no matter what that I have an accent. It's like, but I really hope that it shows that we did put a lot of work into doing our best. And I
Mhm,
hope we don't like make them feel ashamed because you know, I've watched movies, like I said in the past, where they have one line in Korean, and I'm like, dude,
mhm.
you haven't even taken a single Korean class. Like, come on, like you know. So it's like, so I just hope that we did it justice, and yeah, man, it's just it's a lot of pressure that comes with it, but I
Mhm.
really hope we lived up to it. Yeah.
I think you guys did. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And like I said, I'm Team Cobra Kai and Team Korean Cobra Kai, if you want to call it that. And
Thank you.
like it goes back to like the whole Philip Ree. Like it's funny because like same situation as you, right? And in the movie Best of the Best, he was American born, but he represented USA, and he had to fight, you know, his
Yeah,
Korean heritage, Team Korea and stuff like that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I can see like how that kind of like relates to the whole thing, but like absolutely like phenomenal like job you guys been doing. And I remember in
Thank you.
episode 5 when you guys came down with the Cobra Kai karate gis. And what does it translate into the back? Does it say Cobra Kai in
Yeah,
Korean?
yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's
says
what
Cobra
I
Kai in
figured.
Korean, Kobora Kai, like spelt out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's great, man. Shout out to Frank, the costume designer, and he wanted to make sure that it was authentic. So I think he reached out to Nathaniel O's
Mm-hmm.
mom, one of the other cast members who
Mm-hmm.
is Korean. She made sure that the translations were proper and they were really good. So yeah, no, it looks that when I saw that logo, it looks so sick. Like it gives
Yeah.
me goosebumps
Yeah.
even when I still see it now. Like
Yeah.
it's so sick.
And when that background music came and you guys were
Oh my,
walking in, dude, I literally like I never get goosebumps, okay? But
hmm,
like I had like my surround sound on watching season 6, right?
yeah,
And when you guys came and that background music came on, I was just like goosebumps. I was like,
yeah,
holy shit, this is
yeah,
insane. Then when
yeah.
Tory Nichols came too,
Oh my goodness.
I was like, oh my god, Kwon
Yeah,
and Tory Nichols in the Sekai Taikai.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
come on, man. I was
yeah.
like, I just hope like this is gonna go where I want it to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, shout out to Zach and Leo. They do such an amazing job with the score.
Yeah,
Like I
they're
I
yeah.
love every single bit. Like the Miyagi stuff is so
Mhm,
good. And I was so like pumped to see because I knew we bring something different to the table now that we're Team Korea. And I
mhm.
was so like excited to see what they did. And oh my, it's so sick. It's so
Yeah.
like that song you're talking about when like we come in, like that
Mhm.
whole song in general, like the guitar before we even come in
Yeah.
is so good. It gives me so many goosebumps. And then they put a little bit of that like electric like
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
put
yeah.
in and they put in episode 3 for I think the song's called Rise of Quan, which
Mhm.
is absolutely insane that they named the song that. And then
Oh,
like
for sure.
oh, it's so sick. I've been having it on repeat when I'm at the gym. It just gets me fired up. Like,
That's
oh,
great.
it's so good,
Oh,
man.
that's
It's
so
so good.
great. Quan,
Shout
listening
out
to
Zach and Leo.
Quan's
They're
music.
so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's phenomenal, man. So for the next segment here, what I'd like to do is like I like to show the viewers some behind the scenes photos. I got some.
Uh-huh.
And what we'll do is like I'll pop up a few of the photos, and you kind of just like go through them, where you guys were location wise, and who you're with, and what episode and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Ooh, I've never done something like this. This will be fun.
Yeah, yeah. So I do this. It's a new thing I do with like all my guests now, and
Okay.
it's something like fans love to see, right? So
Yeah.
so let's pop up the first one here. Now the first one here we got is with
Oh,
you and Alicia Hannah Kim. And it was obviously cold that day from the jackets you guys were wearing.
yeah.
Now, did you guys film this episode right in January? Because like that's when they started filming season 6. So
Yep. This was in the middle of January. It was like 30 degrees out there. It was tough because I was trying to pull up behind the scenes stuff, but like I'm always in a jacket, like because it was so cold. Like unless if we were on camera, we always had jackets on because it was freezing out there,
oh, I
man.
can
And
imagine you guys are out there with your karate gis and you guys
yeah, yeah. And I was like, I have to get a picture with Alicia, my big sister Nuna, and on screen Sensei. She's awesome. Yeah, I also remember like Ralph was so awesome too because he was like, this just goes to show how much of an amazing person he is. He was going out of his way to like make sure we were in front of heaters, giving us
oh
hand warmers and stuff. And dude, this dude is directing. Like he's
yeah,
got so many other things to worry about, but he, wanted to make sure we felt comfortable. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
he knows what it's like to be an actor too, right? So
Yeah, I know for sure.
yeah.
1000%. Yeah.
Now, the next photo I'm about to show you guys is actually one of my favorites. I like this one. You,
Oh
you
yeah,
and Martin Cove, and this
yeah.
to me
This
this is
is a.
just legendary.
Yeah.
Now I see Martin Cove's got like a bag of Oreos in his
Yep. Right.
hand.
You
Yeah,
know, this was super abrupt actually, and you can tell from my smile how hard I'm fanboying. That is
yeah.
not a Quan smile. That is a fanboy Brandon Lee smile.
Oh, this is
Um,
priceless.
Shout out Jesse Cove, Marty's kid,
Yeah, his
Marty's
son. Yep.
son, who also plays, I think, one of the bullies in the flashback scenes.
Yep.
He was because I wanted to get a picture with him so bad, but like I didn't want to bother him, and then
Oh,
Jesse was like, no, let's take a picture. Jesse's awesome. He's the man.
that's so
And
cool.
this was super abrupt. I think Marty had to leave. I think this was the only time we had to take a picture.
Oh,
He had to go, like he was done, and like we hadn't taken a picture yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I wanted to ask, but I didn't because I didn't want to bother him because I was still fanboying so hard. And so Jesse, Jesse's the man, and he took this picture. And yeah, it was super abrupt. Like they were like, Marty, we need you over here, and then Brandon, we need you on set. Like, and we were like, no, we got to take this picture. So it's yeah. This was
that's
awesome.
that's awesome. Now the next photo is you and Ralph Macchio. There we
Yeah.
go. Ralph directing Cobra Kai, and now this is
Yeah.
obviously episode 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Episode 3.
Wow.
This was awesome. This was when we wrapped the first day, we were
Mhm.
shooting the cigar part where Quan
Mhm.
confronts Kreese. We weren't shooting the fight yet, but we were shooting the confrontation. And
Yes.
so all the other Cobras had went home at this point, and it was just me and Marty and Ralph pretty much, and the rest of the crew obviously.
Mhm.
And I was like, I know that maybe tomorrow it's going to be more hectic. We got to do the fight scene. We have so much to do tomorrow. I have to get a picture. Like, I am going to hate myself if I do not get a picture with Ralph Macchio. And so I was like so nervous to ask him, dude. Like, I don't know why I was so nervous because he was so open to it. And like, he was like, thank you. Cause I keep forgetting to take pictures, but I was like, even though I'm one of the cast members, I'm still such a big fan. So I was so nervous to ask him to take this picture, man. Like,
Oh man, but I'm glad you got this picture, and
yeah,
this
me
is like
too.
something you're gonna cherish for like the rest of your life,
Oh,
man.
1000%, man. I can just, when I'm looking at this, you can see my smile in both those pictures. I'm just like, I'm
Yeah,
just fanboying so hard. Like, even with the hair, I don't look like Quan just because of the smile. Like, it's a fanboy smile, you know?
yeah. Come to think about it, yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That's so true. And you guys, like, obviously it looks like nighttime, so you guys filmed this late at night, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
This was during that cigar scene. So it was at
Mhm.
night. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was after a full day of shooting the board breaking stuff and
Yep.
the falling down the stair stuff. Yeah. And
Um,
I do remember Ralph was like, he was so awesome, man. He told me at the end, he was like, I was telling him like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for guiding me through this. And like, it's been such an honor to work with you. I can't wait for tomorrow. And he's like, well, thank you for being so awesome. Like, I don't know who they cast as these kids. I didn't know if you were going to be good or not, but you guys were even way better than I would have ever thought. So like, thank you
yeah.
guys. And I was like, oh dude, Ralph, you're the best, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're too nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and coming from Ralph, I could see like how much that like really means to
Oh my
you.
gosh. Yeah. I'm never going to forget it, man.
Oh, that's crazy, man. Now the next photo is you, obviously
Oh
on
yeah.
set here. You're right. These karate gis are just phenomenal. Like
Mhm.
I love them. Right? They really stand out. They're crisp. They're clean. They're sharp.
Mhm.
I just like phenomenal job.
This was Master Tony Chung took a lot of these pictures. Shout out to him. He was one of the assistant coordinators, and yeah, he took so many photos. I think this is right before I do the board break. So this was like
Yes.
this is when the nerves were at the max because like this was the first shot in the whole show. And I remember right after this, after we did the board break, my confidence went up by so much because I remember right after I broke it,
Mhm.
then Ralph said cut, and Ralph and John Hurwitz come out of director's tent from the monitor.
Mhm.
And Ralph is super happy because he had no clue I was going to be able to do that. He was super happy. And then John comes up to me with the biggest smile on his face, and he shakes my hand, and he's like, "Welcome to Cobra Kai." And I was like,
No.
"Oh my gosh!" Like, it still gives me goosebumps to this day.
No
That's
way.
something I'll never forget. And from that moment on, it didn't. I didn't feel nervous anymore. It just like it was just it was
Wow.
amazing.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, especially coming from John Hurwitz, the creators of Cobra
Yeah.
Kai. And
Yeah.
like, I know, me knowing John, like, he doesn't say something unless he means it. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
wow,
Yeah.
that's great. That's, oh my God, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the last thing we have here is actually a video clip. So let's play
Oh,
the
okay.
video clip here.
Oh yeah. This is awesome.
I love these behind the scenes footage.
Yeah. Shout out again to Master Tony Chung for taking this video. He took so many amazing behind the scenes stuff that I'm so glad he took. And yeah, this is when right after my amazing stunt double Dante Ha was teaching me the fight. You can see him in the background like nodding, like yeah, like he did it, yeah. And Sung Ho and Kawi, they were amazing to flow with. They were absolutely awesome. And then Don was giving me some more notes after and just giving me some recommendations. And yeah, no, that's when we really built the chemistry. I think my chemistry with Don was really important for the rest of the show too. And it was like from this moment on, we kind of really built that chemistry and trust in each other. And he has the perfect balance of like, letting me be free and do all the things I want to do, but also like, giving me so many amazing suggestions and choreography. And what I love, it's not just stunt and safety stuff. He thinks character too, and it reflects in the choreography too. So like, huge shout outs to them, to the amazing stunt team for sure.
Yeah, Don Lee, the fight choreographer, I think he's been there since day one. So
yeah. Well, I think since season 3, but for a long time. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, he's awesome. I had one guest, Jake Huang, who played Hian Wu. You remember him from season 5? He was part of the Fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and funny enough, I had him as a guest, and he told me nothing but like great things about Don Lee, and they're really good friends as well, right?
Yeah.
So, and Don Lee was the one that kind of gave Jake Huang the role as Hian Wu, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was funny because he was telling me, he goes, well, he's a super nice guy too, right? And so the big three was like, we got to make this guy look a little more like, tough, and he's got to. So they dyed his hair blonde.
Yeah.
He told me about that. Great guy, by the way. And funny enough, he is Chinese by descent, and he had to play Korean, and which I thought that was pretty cool too. And
yeah, I mean, he passes as Korean, and he didn't have too many Korean lines, so he definitely killed that for sure.
Yeah. And I hope to see Hian Wu if in part 2 or part 3. We haven't seen the Fist, which is kind of odd, come to think about it. So to be determined. We'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Now, last question, Brandon, because I don't want to take too much more of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, without giving away too much, what can we expect from Quan in the near future? Will Quan's character be enriching us with more badass moves like the 720 hook kick?
Oh, I mean, like I said before, the only times that the stunt team has told me no was to save what we were doing in part 1 for the later parts, so I'll just say you're going to definitely see a lot more of Quan. You'll see a lot more of everyone. You're going to see a lot more stuff that nobody's ever seen before on the show. I think
oh wow,
like how we were talking about before, the fans are amazing at doing their theories and everything, but I can confidently say that there's a lot of stuff that nobody will ever be able to guess. That's
great. That's what I like. That's what I love to hear.
It's going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely insane. Yeah.
Unpredictable, man. Yep. Brandon, this was like honestly an honor to have you here. And like, I was like super stoked when you agreed to come on, and like honestly, I'm not going to forget this because, like, as I said earlier, you are up there now as one of my favorite
Oh
characters.
man.
And regardless of how this will end, I'm still gonna have you up there as one of my favorites.
Thank
But
you so much. Thank you.
yeah, man, like I'm just glad you came on. You got to share some stories with us. Tell us a little about
Thank you.
Quan and obviously
Yeah.
about yourself. And I hope you can come back maybe in part 2 or part 3, and we can definitely do this again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show. I had a blast. I love the format you have and everything. I love how much passion you have for this. It really goes to show it's very pure, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I love the show. I gotta watch all of the episodes now that you have. It was a blast to be on here. So thank you so much, and I'm absolutely honored that I've become one of your favorites. That's mind blowing to me. But
For sure, man.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's been a blast on you.
absolutely. And this interview just like made me like even love you as a person and a character even more. It just like hit the ceiling with me, man.
Thank you.
And one last thing, I know I just said the last question, but this is not
No
really
worries. Let's do it.
yeah. Like the big three have always talked about like future spin-offs. Obviously, we don't know what kind of spin-offs they're talking about, but John Hurwitz did tell me in my interview with him and Hayden and Josh that they might go back to these characters in the near future and kind of like continue it kind of thing, maybe like an aftermath. And I'll tell you one thing, if they do that, I pray and hope that you're part of it. I see a bright future for you, man. Honest
Thank
to
you
God.
so much. Thank you so
For
much.
man.
You guys hear that up there, Netflix? And I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, seriously, thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm so pumped to see as a fan to see what they're cooking up, whether I'm a part of it or not. Like I really hope they keep expanding this universe because it's absolutely amazing. And they're like, even if they don't go in this universe, those three are a force to be reckoned with. And I feel like they're just getting started, like, they had their show Obliterated, which was amazing as well. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what they got cooking up. So
me and you both, man.
Yeah.
But once again, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on, and I will definitely keep in touch with you. And I hope to see you take it all at the Sekai Taikai.
We'll just have to see, man. We'll just have
to wait and see, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, and thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that is it for Cobra Kai Canada. Peace.